Wait, somebody else came on Zoom just now. Got it. All right, and we are live.
All righty.
And let me mute everybody. Demetrius, unmute yourself. But all right, so infernal greetings, infernal blessings to all. Welcome this evening as we discuss the tunnel of Raflifu. Sounds like a crazy name, like you're swatting a fly, but basically it is what it is. All right, so this tunnel, it's a very special tunnel. All right. Some of this information is coming from VK Jahannam. He's got some really good stuff on the cliff house itself. So research some of his stuff. It's pretty good. All right. So Raflifu. The primary cliff of spirit is connected to Samael, aka Mercury, aka Adremelik. Secondary cliff of spirit is Satriel, which is connected to Saturn and Lucifuge. The direction is northeast and south. It is considered tunnel of set number 30, and it connects Samael to Gamaliel. All right. Now, Raflifu is considered the Lord of the earth and the depths of the sea. Sorry. He is guardian of great knowledge who resides within the tunnels of Set. The pathways between the 10 primary spheres of the cliff house. Knives and staves are sacred to him. Maybe that's why I was in this tunnel for so long, because I love daggers, I love swords, knives, things like that. And don't say it's because I'm Puerto Rican, stereotypical shit. But anyways, so Raflifu is a healer, a protector, and a cycle pump who rules shielding, banishing, exorcism, warding, the blocking of curses, and defense against psychic attacks. He can help the magician develop natural defenses against psychic attacks and vampirism, as well as help her or him cross the abyss. The abyss is always important and always brought up when you're working through the tunnels of Set, the cliff off in itself. The abyss would be considered symbolically the deepest, most profound layers of your subconscious into your unconscious mind. There is the goal for a lot of us, because there is where a lot of what we need to master ourselves is in the abyss. The journey, therefore, is not an easy one, but it is one that must go into the abyss if we want to reach the levels of mastery over ourselves. Raflifu is the Lord of the Crossroads and the arch-demonic divinity of the fire of the abyss. Fire is always synonymous throughout the Cliffoth as well. Fire is an element that can be used to warm your house or burn your house down. Fire can be used to light campfire or burn the woods down completely. So this element is a very powerful but yet volatile element that most, I would say, underestimate sometimes when they work with fire. Because in the modern day society we live, fire is easily obtained, meaning it's in cigarette lighters, it's in torches, it's in whatever, a lot of things like that. Well, that's modern times. At one time, fire was something sacred. It was something that was looked upon as the spark of light, spark of intellect, knowledge. Prometheus in the Hellenic or ancient Greek philosophy In teachings, Prometheus brought the light, the intellect, to humanity when Zeus no longer wanted to share that with humans. Prometheus shared that. Who else? Lucifer. The name in itself, Lucifer, deals with light, intellect. Don't associate this light with the new age religious mindset of this holy roly light, the white light, the green light, the red light, the yellow light, and all these lights that these fluffies love. We're speaking of intellect, okay? Associated with intelligence, associated with things of that nature that you need to utilize in the darkness to decipher what is rising and appearing to you when you work within the darkness. You have to have that ability to decipher these things and kind of prioritize what of these things that have revealed themselves to me is of the utmost importance that I should utilize first within my workings, within my rituals. That intellect is necessary to be able to determine these things, especially when you're unfamiliar with many things that will reveal themselves to you in time. So Raflifu is like the Lord of the Crossroads. And every culture, every religion, magic, so on and so forth, from ancient times to modern day times, there are always deities of the crossroads. This is nothing new. From ancient Africa to Northern Europe to Asia to so on and so forth, there's always an archetype of the crossroads. Why? Because it is at the crossroads where you find the truth of yourself, depending on which road you choose to journey down. Just because you're at the crossroad does not necessarily mean you're going to pick the right road. That's why it's called a crossroad.
Yeah, and the other side of that too is that this tunnel is like right near the beginning of the journey. Some people say up the tree, the clip off, but it's more like down. So,
exactly.
Yeah, this one's right at the start. So a crossroad from your normal, mundane, everyday life into the clip off, starting that process. So this is a warm up, and it's kind of a fucked up warm up when you look at it.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm looking at like Kenneth Grant's information on this particular tunnel. I mean, it's connected to Gamaliel. It's in the same neighborhood, Gamaliel, Samael, and Lilith.
Mm-hmm.
So it's extra trifling, and a lot of people's issues lay in those areas. You know, sexuality, sex, relationships, things of that nature, and money.
Yes.
You know, all that lower chakra shit.
Yeah, exactly. And being that Raflifu is a divinity of fire of the abyss, he can greatly strengthen your astral sight and personal magnetism. He's an excellent tutor and guide in the Clephothic alchemy, glamour magic, the unfolding of new powers and abilities, astrology, homicide. Don't ask. Do not ask. We will get there. Blood sacrifice. Don't ask again. We will get there. Sanguine vampirism. There is a difference between vampirism and sanguine vampirism, but that's for another class, another day. Death magic and some stellar magic. He can impart stealth and an interpersonal charisma to the witch. All right. Keep that in mind because, yes, Raflifu can help protect you from vampiric attacks, but is a vampire in himself. So you wonder why he can help you from that? Because one of the forms of magic that is associated with Raflifu is vampirism. So he knows the best way to ward off psychic attacks from fellow vampires. All right. Always remember that. When you try, okay, I'm gonna say this because I've had these questions asked to me before. How do I protect myself from a vampiric attack? You don't go to a fluffy person to protect yourself. You don't go to some, let's say, Wiccan practitioner. You don't go to someone who's, practicing that fluffy type magic that's borderline between, the gray areas. Now, you literally have to go to another vampire to learn how to ward off the attacks from a vampire.
Yeah, I mean, also understanding what vampirism and the path of that is. You're dealing with predatory spirituality. So it's not necessarily that, oh, this person is evil because they're attacking you. No, it's their nature. And it needs to be yours. And it's interesting, again, those first beginning Cliffa are vampiric in nature. There is a reason for that.
Yeah. Very. Exactly. All right. Raflifu can teach the witch to shapeshift, her astral double into a dragon, a lion, or an owl. Now, symbolism of the dragon is very important. I just alluded to the fact that Raflifu is very associated with vampirism. Mm-hmm. The dragon in itself is a symbol that vampires adhere to because of the symbolism of what a dragon is to a vampire. It's very important to understand that as we continue journeying through this process here, simply because the dragon is the very symbolic form of reaching the epitome of what a vampire is.
Okay. Yeah. And also back to that symbolism of fire too. Speaking of anything draconic, that particular energy, it's transformation. Yeah. Powerful transformation, especially since we're here right at the start of this. You're right at the beginning stages of this. Because I mean, you can explore the cliff and the tunnels together, but it'll be good to explore the tunnels in more depth too, as a separate thing as well. Once you go through maybe a first run of that, yes, but then get more in depth with it. But yeah, the some of those animals are very symbolic of this tunnel, because there are some, like the lion is usually attributed to has some solar symbolism, and there are some solar symbolisms in this tunnel.
Exactly. And just a little further on the dragon. The dragon is a symbol of the magical, evolved, noble predator who is very much in touch with their animalistic nature. For the vampire, the dragon is a symbol of our higher selves. For a vampire, embracing one's primal nature, destroying the victim mentalities that we keep alive, and accepting the laws of self-guidance for our survival. That is the core of what vampirism really represents and what the dragon represents to us. It is the most evolved form of a predator, okay? To be a predator means we don't woe is me everything. Oh, I'm this, and oh my God, this happened to me, and oh, this, you're playing the victim role. As much as we don't like to, unfortunately, society right now in its current state is very much playing the role of the victim mentality. They are falling victim left and right to allowing their victimized minds to feel like a victim, and therefore never breaking free from being victimized, so therefore they remain a victim their whole life. They cannot break free from that. The dragon represents that predator which devours that, transmutes that victim mentality to no longer be a victim, but to empower oneself where now I'm not ever victimized. For what? Because now learning to master myself, I realize my weaknesses and I no longer make excuses for them. I don't seek company of others who are going to continue to enable my weaknesses to continue to rule my life.
And kind of along the lines with that, in the Night Side of Eden by Kenneth Grant, he gives a number for the tunnel as 406, but his number corresponds to a Hebrew word. Now, all of us who have practiced any kind of hermetics or Kabbalic magic and whatnot, ate or atu, from the Kabbalistic cross, this is the word that comes out of that number, and it means thou, like as in do it thou wilt. So it's you. This is about empowerment of you getting back to that. And yes, a lot of your crap will come up, but the symbolism of homicide and whatnot, because there's some, like in his book, he talks about that. The glyph of the tunnel has like weapons in it. Yep. So you could use that in your outer world, but it's more powerful if you turn that inside in your inner world. Because yes, sometimes you may have to go with the outer world and get the gat magically, but get the gat on yourself first, because that'll be more empowering. And just when you have those problems, which when you start turning those types of destructive energies inward, you'll have less of that stuff on the outside because you're getting all that garbage out of the way.
Yep, correct. And this therefore, this is why some of these tunnels are very important. There's a lot of things that we learn here. For example, the graveyard. Raflifu also is going to take you to the graveyard, and there'll be initiation, a klabothic initiation you go through in that graveyard. Crossroads, divination by fire, learning to use the pyre and how to divine through fire, developing alchemical gold, even enhancing your monetary pursuits. Nothing wrong with that shit on the left-hand path. If you come into the left-hand path still talking to me or anybody else about, oh, you shouldn't charge for spirituality. Oh, you shouldn't, shut the hell up, please, okay? Because nowhere in the history of time was knowledge ever free. But if you want to believe so, go ahead, keep typing away at Google, see how far that takes you. But anyways.
Yeah, you get what you paid for too.
Exactly.
Well, also, you don't work for free when you go to your job. Exactly. So why should somebody presenting a service to you do that for free?
Exactly.
You should not be expected to do so. But yeah, building wealth is part of this too. Again, this is all that survival stuff. And there's also a lot of sexuality tied up in this. Yep. I say this with each live stream we do with these tunnels. Get Night Side of Eden by Kenneth Grant. And also Aseneth Mason's book. She wrote a book on the tunnels of Set.
Yes.
But Kenneth Grant's kind of like the foundational book, Night Side of Eden. I think he's like one of the first to actually document it. Yeah. Really put that into writing about that. I mean, yeah, some of it reads like stereo instructions, but it's solid information.
Yeah. It's good works there. And he references someone in that book who also wrote another book that has a lot of profound information. Okay. Geez, why is the name going blank now? But anyways, the individual wrote a book called Gnostic Voodoo and Sorcery.
Oh, that's Michael Bertier.
Yeah, him. So he referenced him too because that brother put out in that book. Okay. All right. So let's continue. Let's see. As I said earlier, Raflifu is the archdemon of the tunnel between the Gothic spheres, known as Samael, which is related to Mercury, Adramelech, and Gamaliel, Black Moon, and Lilith. His name is also associated with being the Great Haggler. If anybody knows what haggling is, you'll understand why he's called that. So, in this journey, understand this, throughout all your journey through each tunnel, which, by the way, we activated the tunnels of Set. No one has joined yet, but hey, when you join. We'll start doing private classes. Myself and Demetrius do private classes there and have prepare rituals for every tunnel. We're just talking about it right now, but we're gonna have some really hard-hitting rituals for the tunnels of Set. So when people are interested in joining that, they're gonna work some serious stuff, because the Qliphoth is like doing shadow work times 20. Because everything you do in the Qliphoth is shadow work, but it's 20 times deeper and 20 times more evolved, because there's other aspects that come up through that working. So realize this, through your journey, you're going to encounter a lot of atavism through the tunnel. Some tunnels are associated with certain animals, leopards, tigers, lions, cats, demons, dragons, so on and so forth. Pretty much like a shamanic journey. Each one of those atavisms, each one of those animals are significant to you. So do not look for someone to have the same animal in that tunnel as what you did. That animal specific will reveal itself to you. And there's a reason for that. In ancient Kemet, for example, when they wore the mastheads, it wasn't because it looked cute. Although some of y'all might think, oh shit, though, that was cute. No, they wore that because that animal had represented a nature, a characteristic, a personality, a primal nature, so on and so forth, that a human has in them. And they have to learn how to integrate it within themselves and how to master various aspects of their animal nature. Working through the tunnels of Set, in particular this one, which this one deals more with the dragon, the lion, and the owl, as well as the leopard. This is revealing a lot about yourself when you do more in-depth research on that animal and you start to understand your own primal animalistic nature. As opposed to religion, which teaches you to destroy and run and just smack the living crap away of that animal nature inside of you. Left-hand path, we integrate it because we understand the power of integrating the animal nature inside of you. It's always been there. Instead of suppressing it and causing more savagery to come out of you, which then creates more chaos in this world, as case in point is happening in this world today.
Yeah.
You learn how to master that within you, integrate it into your life, and therefore you know how to use your animal nature to best benefit you.
And just to add on to that, one of the other things too is that everybody's journey is not going to be the same. Everybody's experience of a tunnel won't be the same either. And the clues to what you gain in your exploration is going to also lead you to its use and application too. That's why it's good to take notes. You know, after you do your ritual, your path working, or whatever it is that you're doing, or experiences, and also maybe even the journal some of your experiences in your waking time too, because these energies are going to present themselves in your physical waking reality. You're going to run into some of these entities in body, or have these experiences in body, not necessarily in ritual only. The ritual and whatnot is just to activate it, but then you're going to have other experiences in your waking world. You're going to be like, oh, damn, that corresponds with this. I mean, I literally seen the sigil of a Qliphoth on somebody's shirt at a bus stop.
Yeah.
Just some Yahoo standing there waiting for the bus. And I'm having to look at him and saw his shirt. I'm like, holy shit. And it looked exactly like the sigil. So, yes. But yeah, I mean, the journey or exploration or your experiences are not going to be the same. Because everybody isn't the same. Yeah, religion will pigeonhole everybody. That this is this way and this is how it's across the board. But this is a path of individuals. So you're going to have your own individual experience. Because when I went through this tunnel, it looked crazy as hell. You know, so other people will have their own experiences that'll be like, oh, you know, this is like this. But you start comparing and looking at the information, things correspond. And it's like, okay, maybe it wasn't as insane as I thought.
That's correct.
Real quick, somebody asked in the chat on the YouTube saying, like, what is your animal and why? As far as that goes, I'm not really going to talk about anything that super personal, but I would say a person's animal will deal with their own inner aspects, like the brother said, that's what that corresponds to. Sometimes aspects that you already reflect, and sometimes it's other aspects that you don't.
Yep.
That you need to reflect and work on. Like someone may have a fox. What are fox? You know, looking up what foxes are known for, studying them, watching videos about them, and then applying those. You know, the saying of being sly as a fox and whatnot. We have its applications to cunning.
Mm-hmm.
A good book that used to be out, I think it's by Ted Andrews, called Animal Speak. That was a book that we used to use back in the day. Big, thick book full of animal correspondences.
Yep.
And it has some small little spiritual practices and whatnot that you can do. But I think it's a good reference, very simple reference that can assist and get you down some good rabbit holes when it comes to those animal spirits. But at the same time, I really wouldn't be too focused on any of that either. The biggest thing is regathering those portions of your soul, your spirit, your essence, bringing yourself back together and empowering yourself even beyond that with the animal. Eventually, you're going to absorb that, mother.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so let me finish it off with this and then see if anybody has questions. Sometimes in your journey, you're going to be guided or directed by your true self, your daemonic self, as we say on the left-hand path, not demonic, daemonic self, okay? You're going to be guided to work with certain cliffa or tunnels. In this case, if you're guided to work with this tunnel, sometimes it's because you have a tendency to give too much of yourself to others. You may have a tendency to hero worship. You put others above yourself. You tend to glorify others above yourself. You may be a person who is dependent on a higher power outside of yourself, therefore minimizing any power you have within yourself because you feel that nothing that you do is greater than some higher power doing it for you. Again, this still is common amongst many people. That's when Raflifu comes in and shows you, no, you have to start to learn to depend on your own personal power because we all have it. Sometimes in your journey through this tunnel, you will feel worthless, insignificant, and powerless. That's when Raflifu shows up to say, hey, you're minimizing your potential. You're minimizing who you are and you're allowing yourself to feel worthless when you have worth. You just have to dig deep inside yourself to find what your worth is. All of us have it. And what the problem is sometimes is when we're trying to find what our worth is we tend to compare with external things, other people, right? We tend to try to emulate other people and you're losing yourself in the process. What you need to do is find out how great you can be at whatever you're intended to be great at. Like, for example, I use this as an example. In his time, when Michael Jordan was playing, he was considered one of the greatest, if not the greatest players in basketball at that time. Okay. I said at his time because I say that to avoid debates and argument because everybody wants to say this guy and that. I don't care. I'm talking about his time. Okay. During his time, during the years he played, he was the most dominant player at that time. He was he was above all others. Now, what happens is you have younger guys coming into the league, and if they try to emulate Jordan, they fail. Instead of playing within who they are and find what is their skill set, what is their talent, and leveling up to the greatness that their potential leads them to. So we tend to want to emulate these role models given to us, these idols given to us.
In connection with that, in Kenneth Grant's book, Night Side of Eden, he mentions the magical city, which is a power, magical power, is the power of acquiring wealth. And wealth can be a lot of things. The first thing most of us think about is money.
Right.
Wealth is a lot more than that because you can have a lot of money and be poor.
Exactly.
If you're not into your own self-development and elevation, if you don't cultivate confidence and raising your self-esteem, I mean, this particular tunnel and the spheres connected to it could definitely assist you with going through some of that. Yeah, it may not be pretty, but that's what you do. He also associates a disease with this. And he says the disease typical of this scala of solar energy is depletion, which actually connects to the whole concept of vampirism. Now, if you are holding on to self-importance, where you are saying, oh, this is me and blah, 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 I'm not going to change, I don't have to shift. I mean, why are you here? Because that's what this is about. You're going to get bled out. That's what happens. You get beat up in some of these tunnels. There's work to be done when you come up in these tunnels, these cliff up and all of that. But yes, the knowing what you're good at and building on that and exploring that, empowering your strengths, and even looking at your weaknesses and trying to shore those up too so they can become strengths. That's wealth. That's good wealth. That doesn't mean that you won't be able to get the money, the gold, and everything else. You might find that actually comes to you without any major work. You may look at your bank account one day and go, damn, where'd all this money come from? Wasn't like the money fairy didn't put it in there. It's that you started to change your mindset and then you started to have better opportunities and you could think a lot clearer. Because a lot of folks are coming into this brainwashed. You are applying this and going into these tunnels and into these cliff up to wash your brain.
Yep. To get rid of the programming, because unfortunately, some of the programming that we have is, am I worthy enough to be wealthy? Now, as Demetrius said, wealth is different to each person. But let's say wealth to you is having a family and being able to take care of them, right? But you can have the family be able to take care of them and lose yourself in the process. If you're able to master yourself, then you can offer more to your family, and that wealth turns into something that they also benefit from, because through your example, they learn how to look at their weaknesses and master that. And each generation goes on becoming stronger and improving themselves overall. Okay, so always keep this in mind, because each tunnel is not designed for you to have a party in. You will feel depressed. You will feel sad. You will feel overwhelmed. You will feel like you want to give up. But always remember, there's a reason why you're going through this. You're going through it because, one, you chose to go through it. No one's forcing you to go through the tunnels. If you're walking through tunnels because you chose to be there. So be open to whatever is coming your way, because it's not coming from outside of you, it's coming from inside you. And it's what you need to presently encounter in your life to be able to move forward and to deal with many of the things that we as humans tend to avoid about ourselves. See, we want to paint a pretty picture about ourselves, but as pretty as that picture is, it's just as hideous as that picture is, but that's the part we hide from the world, right? But that part we hide from the world is the part we tend to ignore, and the part that tends to start to rule us from the shadows. And then when that rules you from the shadows, now we come up with all the excuses why we did some fuckery and blame everybody else but ourselves for the fuckery. When in actuality, it was you who did it. It's always been you. That is why Raflifu states that he's going to take you from being dependent on things outside of yourself to learning to depend on yourself. And yes, you will feel all kinds of emotional swings. You will, feel dissatisfied in your life. It's all temporary, because as soon as you deal with that dissatisfaction, satisfaction will come through the work you invest within yourself. The work you invest within yourself. Now, I see someone in the room made mention that gnosis is free if you know how to look for it. The problem is most people don't know how to look for it. Okay? Gnosis in itself is a mystery to many because they're looking in the wrong places, never looking within themselves to find it. So this is why for years, there was always an initiatic system involved with much of this work, because you had those who were more evolved on that to be able to help others to discover those things within themselves. It wasn't so much that the gnosis was charged for, it was that the gnosis was not ever really given to the public, because much of the public would never know what to do with it, misuse it, destroy it, eliminate it, and lead to a bunch of more chaos than we're already in today.
Yeah, we've all seen that. As the greatest thing that happened to the occult and the worst thing that happened to the occult are books and the internet.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that have gotten, knowledge and wisdom and understanding from a book and from the internet, and are out there now getting psycho-spiritually raw dogged.
Yep.
Because of that. I mean, it's ugly, but that's an example of that.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to be tempered by some of these energies, being receptive, just taking in the current, allowing it to mold, allowing things that need to be let go to be taken. And, what happens is that if you have a greater level of being able to let go of those certain aspects that need to go, the stronger, the more powerful you'll become, the more open you can become, the more easily you're able to connect the current. Things start working, the transformation starts occurring. The more you fight, that's when you start having all this crazy shit. And I've seen it on my own journey. There were certain aspects. You got to get in there and get to work, get honest, get real. And then you'll stop getting dummied up.
Yeah, that's correct. All right, so let's see if anybody in the Zoom room has any questions. Any questions from the Zoom room? If so, raise your hand. If not, I see no questions. All right, so let's go to YouTube, see if there's any additional questions. Oops, someone just came in late. All right, so someone asked, is our vocabulary cursed? Are we just cursing each other over and over? We need our own vocabulary, bro. All right, Demetrius, how do you want to handle that?
Yeah, I saw that. And I mean, one way of saying, I would say that certain cultures, like elders, won't speak in English.
Mhm.
Like you go to the Plains Indians and whatnot, you got the elders where you don't know how old they are. They will not speak in English.
Mhm.
I remember watching a video with a Mohawk medicine woman where she talked about the singing that is done. They have a healing song. They don't really know the English translation of it because they don't use English in the song. You know, and there's other cultures where they will not speak in English when doing spiritual work because they think it shuts the energy down. I mean, when speaking in another language or using another language in magical workings, it can be very cathartic, very powerful because it's not consciously known to you. It's almost like a bypass, but at the same time, it also depends on the individual too. What are your beliefs? Are you tied up into that? Because there's a lot of that within this consciousness community thing. And it makes me crazy when I hear this shit. Oh, brother, I don't understand. I overstand. Once I overstand, I understand. And they go to the courtrooms with that and they get crucified. And they're supposed to.
And let me also say this when it comes to the language thing. Okay. What I learned years ago, I was caught up in that. I was trying to learn Arabic. I learned Arabic pretty good for a while. Forgot a lot of it now, but I was all into learning another language and, you know, the real powers in those languages and everything else. Yes and no. Let me tell you why yes and no. The power comes from within you. You can speak whatever the heck you want to. And if you have tremendous willpower and confidence in what you're doing, doesn't matter what language you're speaking, you still will get results. And some people say, yeah, but you'll get more results. You can't prove that. That's subjective. You really can't prove that. That's what you believe. But you can speak any language you choose to and still get results. You can still get as much results as speaking another language. It just sounds fancier when you say something in Arabic, Hebrew, you know, a Dravidian dialect or whatever. But
Yeah.
is it correlating to your heart? Is your heart connected to the words you're speaking? If you really don't speak that language, your heart is not really connected to that. Your passion should be involved with what you're saying to give force and power to the words that you're saying. And if it's a foreign language to you that you really have no true connection to, and even if you study for 20 years, but you're a native English speaker or Spanish speaker or French speaker or whatever, that is not your first language. And although your passion maybe I'm a master's language, I can guarantee you will still get just as much profound effect as using your native language that you were born speaking, meaning when you started learning to speak, the culture you were born into, so on and so forth, you will get just as many results as if you use another language in your rituals.
Yes. And there's a response in the chat on YouTube. Old English is a magically powerful language, and it is. Mm-hmm. It very much is. I mean, a lot of those languages are very powerful. The Semitic language is extremely powerful. Yeah. There's a lot of energy behind it. Yeah. But I mean, if you're on the fly, like with me, I my native language is English. But I mean, if there's something going on and I need to speak something and put some energy behind it, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to speak in English. I can't go through my mental Rolodex at that time. I'm 50 now. So I'm not doing that. I can't be stopping and going, all right, there's alligators of the cosmos all around me. So I got to stop and roll through my mental Rolodex to see what Yoruba, Congo, Chinese, Hebrew, whatever word I need to use. No, I'm going to speak in English.
Exactly. Myself, I speak English and I speak Spanish, but I think in English first before I speak in Spanish. At one time it was different. From the age of 1 to 6, I mostly spoke in English. I was surrounded by a lot of Spanish speaking people. Once I went to school Yes, I'm gonna give away my age. Once I went to school in the 70s, elementary school in the 70s, there was no bilingual programs and stuff like that, like there is today. We were kind of forced to speak English. I started losing a lot of Spanish. And my mind now thinks in English and translates it to Spanish when I'm speaking to someone in Spanish. So when they kick a word there that I have no idea about, I can't go into, as the Demetrius and my mental Rolodex, and say, damn, what word is that in Spanish? My mind's trying to figure it out in English. And I'm trying to find the Spanish equivalent. Do you understand? Because that's what I was born into. American culture, where whether we're of different ethnicities or whatever, you usually have to adapt to the language of the country, and therefore that becomes your main language. Can you use ancient languages? No doubt. If you have passion in it and you're invested in that, no doubt. Do it, get it, work it, and if you feel it brings more power to you, more power to you for that. But like I said, if whatever you're passionate about, whatever language you choose to speak, you will get the results. English, Spanish, French, Japanese, whatever, or ancient languages, you will still get the results and it will not change it. Okay? Do we curse each other when we speak? Possibly more than we realize. But at the same time, if we're worried about being cursed, then we need to do work more on ourselves to realize, as a spiritual predator, anything that's thrown my way, I'm gonna devour, transmute it, and make it work for me. I'm gonna take whatever's thrown at me, devour it, and become more powerful through it. That's what vampires do. That's what spiritual predators do. I don't wait and someone lobbying a curse at me and they unconsciously, I'm gonna just chew those words up and just make it into a stew, eat it up, and kick it back out and say, has no effect on me, peeps. It doesn't, right? Because your mind is. Mm-hmm.
I have another question in the YouTube chat. Is there a way to know if you've unintentionally initiated into any of the tunnels or cliffotic spheres? Much of these experiences seem like deja vu or on repeat at times without having formally initiated. I am going to say that, yeah, we're all actually on the tree, right? All actually traveling in our day-to-day lives, having various experiences. The surefire way to know about what's really going on is look at your life. You know, look at your correspondences. What's happening? Are there some symbolism? You'll be getting synchronicities that'll pop off. They'll let you know what's happening, what's going on. Like I said earlier about seeing the guy with the shirt on. Yep. I mean, and to top it off with that, he had a baseball cap on that had a sigil of the black sun.
Yep.
Had nothing to do with the black sun. It was some kind of other hat, but it was a symbol of the black sun. It was a black sun with rays on this hat. And then this white shirt with these two black dragons facing each other, which it looked exactly like a cliffotic sigil I was working with.
Yeah.
So for me, well, you know, outside of getting a reading from someone that reads that kind of thing, you know, if I'm on my own, I would look for those types of synchronicities that will let me know that, oh, okay, I've opened this up, I've entered into this, I'm having this kind of experience or interaction with somebody, and maybe this is in some kind of embodied entity that's letting me know that, hey, yeah, you're over here now. Pay attention and be aware. Yep. And that's the biggest thing, just awareness and paying attention to what's going on. Magic is very simple, doesn't have to be extremely complicated or insane.
And that's very important, because sometimes we miss the symbols in our life. I'll give you an example. I use this, you know, I shared this in the classes and I'm gonna share it again today. Something that happens one time is an incident. If it happens 2 times, it's a coincidence. If the same exact shit happens 3 times or more, it's no longer a coincidence, buddy. It's a reality. Pay attention. Something is trying to show you something that you keep ignoring or not wanting to accept. So if something happens one time, it happens. It happens again a second time. Okay, maybe. Okay, and then maybe that's coincidental. But then it happens 3, 4, 5 times, buddy. It's a reality. Pay attention. Look closely because something is trying to reveal something to you that we are missing. We're missing that. So yes, you can actually be walking through the tunnel, one of these tunnels, and not have no freaking clue about it. Because some of our spirits do astral travel when we're asleep. Unconsciously, many people astral travel when they're asleep. When they wake up, they just associate it with a dream. Oh, that was a dream. Until something happens in their waking world that triggers a deja vu experience, which really is not deja vu. It really happened, and it's just now in the waking world, you're getting confirmation of what happened in the astral world. So now you're like, what the hell? Oh my God, what this? Am I really walking? Am I doing this tunnel, not aware of it? The only way to find out if you're really walking through that tunnel, one, as Demetrius said, you could get a clipothic reading. There's a lot of us out here who do that. Myself does that. Beniti does that. There's others who do clipothic reading. Or seriously investigate and initiate yourself through the tunnels of Set and through the tree of Klippa. Work it. Find out, and then you'll understand why this certain thing keeps repeating itself, because that may be the tunnel you're stuck at. And so therefore you keep repeating it because you can't get past that tunnel, but it just seems like it's a dream world. It's a dream association to you. Because now when you wake up and something happens that kind of parallels that you went through in the tunnel, holy shit, what? Damn, hold on. Yes, you probably are walking through that tunnel. In your unconscious world, you are. But now you have to bring consciousness to that, because obviously you're still repeating something in that tunnel that consciously you're not aware of. It's in the unconscious. So you have to merge the two to get the benefit you're supposed to and get out of that tunnel and continue your progression. So that's how I would answer that, because many a times we do unconsciously go through these journeys and never realize it until sometimes it's too late. Or when we realize it, you lost many years of development. Now you have to kind of like play catch up to what you were, doing unconsciously. But the problem, and I'm gonna share this because I've experienced this talking to a lot of people through these classes. The problem is that when you go through these unconscious experiences, right? And then you try to go into there and learn about it, don't come at it with a big head, because you did all this spiritual studies and things that we tend to be overbearing and think that, oh no, there's nothing new I can learn. That's a lie. When you walk the left-hand path, when you go, it's literally like erasing everything you ever were taught and starting from scratch over, and not going into trying to understand what you've been encountering using the old information, the old spiritual systems you came from. You literally have to start from scratch and start to understand what it is you're going through in the Klippa, through the symbolism of what it means in the Klippa, in the realm of the Klippa, what the symbolism is, what the meanings are. You literally have to let go of all that old stuff. Otherwise than that, you'll keep missing the picture and you'll keep waking up as if it's a dream. Because sometimes the big head doesn't allow us to really understand why we keep repeating this thing. I don't really need to work on that. So why would it keep repeating? Why I keep going into the same situation? I hear that quite often. Yes, you do need to work on it, because obviously you ain't gotten it yet. That's why it keeps repeating itself. And people more often than not get the big head when they find out, well, I don't need to do that. I've been doing that unconsciously. So that doesn't mean you have a clue what the hell it really means that you've been doing unconsciously. That's the problem. Can you humble yourself enough to be able to learn fresh and brand new again without bringing all the garbage that we've learned into it? I'm not saying everything you learn in the past is garbage. I'm saying we tend to bring some of the garbage in there, and it conflicts with what you're learning in the on this left-hand path journey now. It conflicts to the point that it causes turmoil within, because one side of you still wants to stay in the right-hand path. One side of you still wants to stay in the fluffy path, dancing with the Pillsbury Doughboy. And the other side of you wants to go so dark and so deep into the tunnels. And then therefore you wrestle your whole life and you straddle the fence and never pick a side. And then we justify that by saying, oh, I'm just so gray. I'm just down the middle. Please pick a side already. All right, stop playing the straddling the fence thing, because you're only doing a disservice to yourself. If you really want to understand your shadow side, don't do it from the perspective of, I'm learning my shadow side from this fluffy side. How the hell are you learning anything? You're still judging your shadow side based upon everything you learned on the right-hand path, or some religious philosophy, spiritual philosophy from the right-hand path. You're still judging it from that. That's not going to benefit you. You literally have to go into the world of the tunnel and the clip path and understand everything about it, the symbolisms, the mindset, all of it has to be done anew. And if you're not willing to do that, then you're going to keep repeating, possibly going through these unconscious experiences over and over. And I'm not speaking to the person who posted a question. I'm speaking to anybody in the YouTube world who finds himself going through these things over and over, and possibly why you're still repeating it. I'm not telling you that's what it is. It could be possible that's why you're repeating it. And I only share from my experiences and, speaking to others through these classes and what they share. That helps us come together and get a greater understanding of what's happening when we do this work. Because yes, the left-hand path is a path of solitude. It is a solitary path much of the time. But if you have people you can dialogue with, like in this video, in this class, and so on and so forth, then it can help you. It can help you get a little further along in your journey if you just put aside certain feelings you have, maybe towards a person or a group or whatever, and just say, yo, it's about me getting the answers for what I need. I could care less about all that external garbage of, I like this person, I don't like this person, I don't like what they teach, that's all irrelevant at the end of the day. The only thing that's relevant is mastering yourself. And sometimes you're going to have to tone it down and just go through this to get what you need for your growth. That's what learning to walk through these tunnels is all about. What do you need to develop? Period. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. All right. Any other questions? No? Okay. Let me go into YouTube. All right. So that's true. Magot Michael says imagination ain't got language. That is 100%. Imagination doesn't have a language. Imagination just is what you see, what you can create, and it can be described in multiple languages across the planet of the Earth, not particular to anyone. All right, so that'll be it. Again, we will be doing another tunnel. We'll do the next tunnel 2 weeks from now. Be on the lookout for that. It'll be at 8 o'clock. So be on the lookout. And if you want to get on the live, if you're in YouTube and you want to be on the live class, so you can ask live questions and be on the camera if you ain't shy to be on the camera, because some people like hide behind cameras. I don't know why. But anyways, just send me an email to the Eternal Black Flame 666 at gmail.com, and we'll try to send you an invite for the next one. All right. So whoever wants to be in the actual class, you could do that. All right. So I appreciate y'all for coming out. And a couple announcements. So like I said earlier, the Tunnels of Set classes on the Eternal Black Flame Patreon page is not open. So we will be creating, myself and Demetrius will be creating rituals for all those tunnels, every one of them. So you know the class is going to be a long class because that's a lot of tunnels. Okay.
Yeah, there's like 22 of them, isn't it?
Yeah, 22 tunnels that we got to work through. So sign up if you want to go further into that and do some ritual work. Myself, Demetrius, and others, we've been walking through this many years. So there's some insight and certain experiences that we can bring to the table through initiation process, through your self-initiation. Okay. What else? I think that's about it. We'll see y'all in 2 weeks.
Yep.
And hopefully y'all have more questions next time around. All right. Infernal blessings to all.